Hello everyone, Neil Tappin here from Golf Monthly and welcome to Bearwood Lakes Golf Club and this video in which we're going to take a look at how to practice your golf game. Now the advice in this video comes from Pepperell, and Eddie thinks about his golf game in a slightly different way actually to many of the world's top players. The way in which he thinks about the game in order to move his body in the most consistent way possible might well just offer you some food for thought for your own game as well. Guys, if you're new to the Golf Monthly channel, please do hit the subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss any of our videos. Hit the like button if you like what you're watching. But let's head over, meet Eddie and find out what advice he's got to offer. Okay, so Eddie, let's talk about how to practice. So for you, what do you think is a good piece of advice for people watching this about the number of golf balls they should be thinking about hitting? Because it's quite easy to hit too many, isn't it? What would be how would you structure a practice routine and what would be a good number to hit, do you think?
I would structure it based off your priority, what you think you need to work on, what you are working on, whether you think that you're going to need more repetitions, to use a Tiger term, or not really. Okay. And then you go from there. So if you feel like you need to ingrain a new change and you think the only way you're going to get there is through lots of repetitions, by all means go and hit balls. But if not, I tend to feel on the other side. Okay. I'm a big kind of drill person, so I won't actually spend much time hitting lots of balls. Okay. But I'll do instead lots of drills. And the good thing about that is they can be done, the particular types of drills I do can be done in your room, so okay. Hotel room or even at home. So I quite enjoy that because it puts less stress on the body and can be more direct and precise.
Going back to repetition though, everyone gets to a point where they stop moving in quite the way, you can get tired towards the end and stop moving, and then you can get quite frustrated, feel like you're not actually making any progress. Is that something you've ever experienced before?
Oh, I've never moved into a good spot. And what I mean by that is I've never hit more and more balls and grooved a better feeling or got better. It always gets worse with me. So I have to time that, and I don't overhit. I find with me, if I play too much golf or I hit too many balls, the only way I can replenish a good feeling is just getting away and not picking a golf club up for a day or two.
Oh really?
And then it just resets the system, pick it back up, back to a better spot. I really struggle to hit my way or swing my way into a better feeling. Now we're all different. I mean, I think it depends a little how you grow up on that front. I mean, think of Ben Hogan or someone like that, or Alex Noren, they might say the complete opposite to that. Right. I don't think there's a right or a wrong or a truth necessarily. It's just there's probably a preferred way based on your particular, let's say, DNA.
And you've got to understand yourself, I guess. You've got to understand how you best.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
So okay, let's go through what a typical kind of practice session for you might look like. So presumably you've warmed up. How many balls would you spend warming up? I just probably pitch 4 or 5 shots with like a lob wedge or a sand wedge, and then I start working up in towards fuller shots and doing some drills, adding some drills in. Really, I don't need too many. So what are the key drills for you then? What are the sort of drills that people who go to the range on the European Tour might have seen you working on your game? Yeah. What are the sort of things they will have seen?
There's really only 2 that I've done religiously for 2 years, I would say.
Right.
One is where I put a ball in my left hand, and I'm better off probably just showing this. I've probably been seen doing this before. I get into a good posture, get my left arm under me, and then this is kind of a bit of a sequencing drill for me. It was purely lead arm, left arm, which I think is the most important arm in the swing. I set it this way to kind of get this feeling that my left shoulder is internally rotated, but also gets the feeling that my back's to the target for longer, which I prefer as a feeling on the downswing. So and then I get it under my chest. I make sure that it moves under before I rotate, so that it's teaching me to get my arms under my chest first, left arm up, and then I throw the ball back down kind of in front of me, so that by doing that with my lead arm, it brings my shoulders more on top of my hips. Okay. So that it doesn't encourage this.
The club's not stuck behind you, Exactly. It's kind of nicely out in front of you on the way down.
So I encourage it to come more this way, and then I can rotate onto the ball and keep it really passive.
Just to go back a step, when you say sequencing, there might be some people watching this that might think, what's that?
Yes.
What do you mean by sequencing?
Sequencing, basically rhythm or tempo, but for me, you should really only watch your swing in full motion. I don't think, when you watch a swing in slow motion, you don't get any sense for the flow. So by sequencing, I mean flow. You can tell, even the best players in the world, you think of Adam Scott, you can still tell when you watch TV when he's hit a bad shot and a good shot, because something looks different. I bet positionally it's hardly different at all. The difference is the sequence and the flow.
Right.
So when I'm training that drill, it's basically training a sequence so that my arms would move, say, before my hips
Okay.
in a certain part of the golf swing in transition, let's say, or on the back swing, which I know is important for my flow of my golf swing.
Okay.
So when I watch my swing in full motion, I can tell straight away how I'm swinging,
yeah.
how I'm playing. And I think you can do that with everyone.
Right,
so
yeah.
I'm training that. I think there's nothing more important. You think of the great swingers, they've got great flow. Ben Hogan, Sam Snead.
Who would be the people that you admire from
well,
that perspective?
There's people that I would admire, and there's people that I think are more relatable to me. So for example,
Okay.
I would look at Sergio as someone who's more relatable to me for a reason that I get quite narrow in my downswing as well. And obviously he gets exceptionally narrow. So what does he do to overcome that, to enable him to play great golf? And he would basically get his arms to pull down a lot before he would rotate.
Yes.
Effectively. Someone who keeps a lot of width, they can think about rotating earlier in the downswing. So there's a very different, based on the positions or the idiosyncrasies of a golfer, there are different things that you could do. From my perspective, if I was to watch someone, it would be like Ben Hogan, who I just think's got an amazing flow. You know, you watch his swing, it's like he's dancing with a club at the end of his
Yeah, so it doesn't
hand.
feel mechanical. It doesn't feel like he's desperately trying to get it into positions. It's just happening.
Absolutely.
Kind
The
of
worst
naturally.
mistake people make is that they try to get it into better positions via training positions. To get it into a better position, you have to train a movement. The golf swing's a movement, so you want to train a move. And what you'll find is when you move correctly with the flow, you get these great positions.
Yes.
So that's where I've gone. And that's what that drill helps me do, as well as the second drill I do, which is, I call it a reroute drill, but it's where I basically set the club the other side of a ball, lift my arms up, and then I have to come on the inside.
Right, okay.
And then because I come on the inside, it's keeping my hips quiet, and then I have to rotate to square the face up, and I often hit little fades. So I'm basically hitting an inside to inside fade. So it tells me that I'm improving my down, my path with my arms are deeper, and then I'm rotating on, and it gives you the nice kind of appearance of impact.
Okay.
And that's the opposite of my bad habit as well.
Okay.
So basically I'm training the opposite of my bad habits with an emphasis on flow or sequencing. That's it. That's what I've done for 2 years, and I would say it's always getting a bit better, a bit tighter, and the better stuff's getting better, the worse stuff's getting a bit better.
Yeah.
And clearly there's some other technical stuff I work on at times if necessary and need be, but by and large, and by by and large I mean 90% of the time, those two things are what I focus on.
Can you hit a couple of shots for us so we can see?
Yes, just full shots.
Yeah, full shots. Yeah, so you can see
Sure.
what it looks like. And
Absolutely. So that was a hair skinny, but
and the reroute drill? Is that you
so
doing
it's-
that with full?
so what I'm actually working on there is transferring the feeling I get from my reroute drill into my golf swing.
Okay.
The problem is if I overdo the drill and the feeling, I can get a bit this way.
It's too much.
Right.
Yes.
So that's
Which
when
is something that we all need to bear in mind, isn't it? When you're doing a drill like this.
Absolutely. We are all very malleable, and you have to be aware of that. If you focus on one thing for too long, it might be right for 6 weeks, and it can be terrible for you for 6 months. So it's a constant flux. So I probably have to spend 80% of the time doing my ball throwing drill to then feel my reroute feeling, because they're opposites in many ways.
Yes.
And then I can find a nice middle ground. Where I'm quite neutral. This improves my path.
Okay.
This feeling improves my path. So even a shot like that, it's not a pure strike, but it's gone dead straight, and the divot's pretty good. So the path's quite good.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm feeling the reroute there. I think my flow is better with that feeling.
Yes.
I'm more dynamic with my legs. I just have to make sure I've got enough of the other drill built in so that I can feel that.
Okay.
And then it will also depend on wind conditions, shot type,
Yes.
and I might play the other swing feelings. So
Okay. Okay. Hit another one for us.
it's all a
there,
bit of a
Eddie, if
puzzle,
that's all right.
really.
That was struck.
That
Beautifully.
was a better one, yeah.
So let's say you've run through the drills, you're happy with where you are.
Yeah.
Do you then leave the range and try and get out on the golf course, or do you do any games? Do you do anything that's kind of preparing you for the sort of shots that you're going to be facing any given week? Let's say we're at the Open or any other week. Are you doing anything else?
I don't really play games or anything like that in terms of my warm-up, you know. I'm a big believer in technique. Well, I'm a big believer in skill, and I think the main component of skill is technique. So I'm always not searching, I'm always demanding of myself that I'm getting my technique right.
Yes.
Just before I go out, every time I practice, because I think the better that gets, I'm pretty competitive. I know when I get onto the course, better things come out of me than off the course, so I don't kind of worry about that stuff. I think games can be really good for you if you want to get into that mindset and that environment, but I'm doing a pretty good job at the moment, at least I feel like I am when I'm on the course of competing, staying focused.
So does all this stuff then, when you're on the course, does it all go completely out of your mind? Does it go to the back of your mind? Is it?
No, it's all I think about.
Is it? Yes.
It's all I think about. When I'm playing golf, all I'm thinking about is my technique, is the feedback from each shot, what happened there, what was my shot pattern, what do I need to do on this next shot, you know. I'm constantly playing that game, or that I'm constantly going through that process, that feedback process, and then it's all about trust, obviously. You know, that's
the hard part.
Well, that's everything. It's like, what are you going to feel on this golf shot? Can you trust it?
Okay.
And the more, you know, trust comes back a lot from what you've done in the past, what shot patterns you've seen. So, you know, the two swing fields I tend to play with, they have different misses. So your misses can build trust, and trust is massive, but it's hard to get to trust right now. You can only really get to a position of pure trust after probably a period of time experiencing shots on the golf course under pressure and seeing misses and shot patterns.
Okay, so Eddie, what's a good way to structure a practice? So the people watching this, they might have their own technique elements they want to work on. They might want to work on some of the fundamentals. You know, people like me, amateurs out there, they know they kind of need to work on alignment and grip and posture, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And then they might also want to fit in a few field things. What's a good way of sort of structuring the whole a solid practice routine so that you don't end up going down those sort of rabbit holes that can kind of cause you to drift off path?
This is tough. When you've only done one thing for so long and it's so individual, it's hard to give advice that's kind of universally true, I think. I'm just going to bring it back to, it's got to be structured based off on what you're seeing, really. And I mean, for us guys, because we spend more time with coaches, it's probably easier to do that, because you don't know what it looks like when you're over the ball. You know, you might feel, but feel and real are so different. So you need to have that. You need to have that interaction quite frequently and regularly with the coach, so that he can tell you what to work on or what you think you need to work on. So there is that element to it, and that's why I think it's so important that amateurs do see coaches, because that's how you're going to really get better, is by acquiring new knowledge and better knowledge than what you've got. So there's that, and really I would have thought every practice session should be, I couldn't ever imagine going hitting balls without a focus, or at least I'm focusing on something. Like, what's the point? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I mean, when I'm eating chocolate, I do nothing. I think of nothing, but that's fine. I mean, you're sat in front of the TV, but when you're hitting golf balls, it's like, well, certainly from from my perspective, there has to be a reason for your practicing, because otherwise, what is the point?
Yes. Yes, and everyone out there will have their fault that they need to kind of try and iron out, or they'll be looking to hit a shot that they've never really been able to hit before, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It's just identifying that, right?
And that's the hardest part, identifying it, and then probably just spending 90% of your time doing the opposite of your bad habit. The problem is you've got to identify what your bad habit is, and that's hard. That's hard because you don't see it enough times on video. You know, and you may not reflect on it as often as, say, I do or other pros do. So there's that element to it. But if you just practice the opposite of your bad habit, I mean, look at Miguel Angel Jimenez's backswing or his rehearsal. You know, I mean, it's you see some bonkers rehearsals out there, but the reason they're so bonkers is because they're the complete other end of the spectrum as to what their bad habit is. So you think of Alex Noren, or even me, some of the crazy stuff I've done. I mean, it's just a complete opposite, and then or I think it's true that, you know, you find somewhere more of a middle ground in between. So,
what about fundamentals though? Do you always check your fundamentals? Do you always know where your ball position is? Do you always feel like you're in charge?
I'm pretty lazy. I'm pretty lazy with that stuff. I'm not very on it. Again, I have two coaches now, and I think one tends to pick up on fundamentals more than the other. So, you know, there's that, which is good. It's good for me because I'm pretty lazy on that side. But I don't tend to get into too many bad habits with alignment, ball position, grip. It tends to be always pretty good with me. There'll be times where it might slip from left hand and get a little weak now and again.
Right, okay.
So strengthen that up. That was certainly what happened recently. But by and large, alignment and things tend to stay fairly consistent with me, thankfully.
Yeah. Okay, hit a couple more for us there. Eddie, I'm sure everyone wants to see you. Smash a few more down there. Slight draw, Eddie. What's your sort of natural ball flight?
Well, I like to hit it there very straight. I try and
Good
hit every
answer.
shot as straight as possible, really. So, and I always work towards that neutral.
Ball flight.
Yeah.
Don't
yeah.
like to see an awful lot of shape either
No,
way.
no, I hate it.
Do you
I
feel
don't,
like you can then hit it either way much more
yeah,
easily?
I mean, my tendency and my bad habit is left to right.
Okay.
It's a bit steep left to right. So I don't mind seeing the ball draw occasionally, but it depends a little bit on how that draw is happening.
Yes,
Because
okay.
there's two ways to draw it. There's a good way and there's a bad way.
Okay.
This is a bad way.
Yes.
A good way is you get it in earlier position and then you can take it with a very passive club face.
And
so
it's much more controlled.
Much more controlled. I don't get there very often, but when I do get there, I'm beginning to get excited because if
Yeah.
I can draw it correctly, I can do anything with a golf ball. So, but it just doesn't happen very often.
Come on, you've set yourself up for this one.
Yeah.
You come on, hit a little draw for us.
Well, you see, that last one was a good draw, but it
was. Wins off the left.
wins off the left as well, which is, you know. So that was a really good draw.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a full face draw. That was a nice shot.
So there you have it, some really good advice there from Eddie on how to practice. I think that the most important thing is if you're heading to the range, it doesn't matter how long you've got, but go with a purpose. Don't go just to hit balls, just to, you know, waste some time. Have a purpose, have a strategy to improve. And if you do that, you might just start playing a little bit better.